Story 1. Am I the a-hole for refusing to honor my boyfriend's family tradition? My boyfriend, Eric, 29 male, fake name, and I, 27 female, have been dating for 3 years. For context, I have met his family and they're friendly. We don't meet them very often because they live in my boyfriend's home country. I don't want to reveal country names either for privacy reasons, but my boyfriend and I are of different nationalities and we both work in my country. The conflict happened during our visit last weekend. We've been looking up houses to move in together and engagement rings. While we were having dinner, we mentioned this to his family as it's a big step in our relationship for us. We're not engaged yet. His parents and brothers expressed their happiness for us. Then out of nowhere, his youngest sister-in-law asked, "So is she going to take the test?" I asked, "What test?" In summary, the boyfriend's family has this tradition where the future mother-in-law tests future daughter-in-law to see if they are good enough for her sons. Apparently, his mother and aunts went through the same test. The tests include how clean they can keep a home, how well they can cook, their manners, etc. Basically, life skills most people learn from childhood. I found it ridiculous because 1, if I'm good enough for my boyfriend, he should be the one deciding it, and 2, I don't fit into their targeted category. In his mom's words, you can't be a good stay-at-home wife and stay-at-home mother if you can't be a good homemaker, and she wants to make sure of that. To be clear, his mom and all 3 of his brothers' wives are stay-at-home mothers, and although I respect their choice, I'm not quitting my career and did not under any circumstances make my boyfriend think I could compromise on that. I hate house chores, and I would rather buy homemaking gadgets and hire staff no matter the cost than have to do chores myself. I told my boyfriend's mom all this, and it caused an argument that eventually ruined dinner and, in extension, our visit. Boyfriend doesn't care whether I'm a working wife or a stay-at-home wife, but he thinks I should have just done the test because it's just a test, and it's not like they would reject me if I failed it. He thinks it's a fun tradition that everyone was looking forward to, and I should have gone along with it anyways. My boyfriend thinks I'm the a-hole and suggested I make this post. Am I really the a-hole? I'm sure you guys will let me know, so am I? I don't think she's the a-hole here. This is lack of communication on this whole family's part, including the boyfriend, about this tradition. I mean, is this just some sort of goofy little test? Some kind of ribbing? Or are they going to really judge? Is this going to be something that's going to be hung over their heads for the rest of their relationship when they get married? There's a lot of miscommunication on what exactly is going to go down on this. And if they're talking about moving in and getting rings, the boyfriend should have definitely told her about this. I don't think she's the a-hole.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 2. My entitled mother-in-law threw my family heirloom engagement ring down a storm drain. I've seen a lot of crazy people in my life, but my potential mother-in-law is the absolute worst person I have ever met. I, 30 female, have been with my boyfriend, 31 male, for 8 months now. For the first few months, everything was amazing. He is the sweetest and most caring man I have ever been with. He likes to surprise me with fun dates and flowers for no apparent reason. The biggest surprise of all, though, was when I met his mother. I met his parents for the first time a few months ago. The first thing future mother-in-law said to me when I walked in the door was, "Are you Jewish?" I'm not, and I'm not particularly religious, but I was raised Catholic. I once told her this, and it was the beginning of the madness. She immediately stopped talking to me and acted as if I didn't exist. I was extremely nervous about meeting my boyfriend's parents, so this broke my heart. I was determined to make a good impression, so I kept trying to connect with her. This was a huge mistake, and I should have just let it go. Once we were all seated for dinner, she finally decided to try and make conversation. I have naturally red hair, and she asked me if my parents have the same color. I told her that I have the same hair as my mother. She then had the audacity to ask me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" I had no idea how to respond and just sat there stunned. Seeing my reaction, she said, "Don't worry, I'll just ask my son about it later." I looked over at my boyfriend, who seemed equally as shocked, but he didn't say anything. She then started to go on about my hair being too curly. She told me that I really need to learn how to brush my hair and think about my appearance more when I'm out with her son. Then, when I didn't eat much at dinner, she gave me her version of a compliment. I was told it was good that I'm watching what I eat because it would be a shame if I got any bigger. This was just the first meeting with this woman. As soon as I got into my car, I burst into tears until I got home. My boyfriend was texting me and apologizing for his mother's behavior, but the damage was done, and I told him I needed time to think. He went into apology overload after this and started sending flowers to my office every day and leaving me messages begging me to talk to him. I finally agreed, and we went out to dinner. He told me he spoke with his mother about her inappropriate comments, and he swore it would never happen again. With this reassurance, I decided to give it another chance. Fast forward 2 weeks to when he invited me to come to a family birthday party. This time, I would also be meeting his sisters and grandparents. His grandparents and sisters are awesome people. They asked me normal questions about my job, family, and friends. His mother seemed to be avoiding me throughout the evening, and honestly, I was okay with that. I went to grab something from my purse and noticed that it was not where I left it. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find it. I went and asked my boyfriend, and he began to help me look. He then got a strange look on his face, and he quickly went upstairs. I could then hear a lot of yelling upstairs. He came back down holding my purse after a few minutes and told me that they were leaving. Once we got in the car, I asked him what was going on. His mother had taken my purse so that she could see my driver's license. She intended to try and run a background check on me. He told me she had told him this earlier, but honestly had thought she was joking. I thought it was best if I avoided any of his family functions for the time being. This worked out great for a while, and he went to any of his family parties alone. He would ask me each time before leaving if I was sure that I didn't want to go, but I always declined. Last week, his family had their family reunion, and he asked me to please come with him. I was very reluctant, but considering there would be so many people present, I didn't think she would pull anything. When we got there, everything was going great. I met his extended family and got to catch up with his sisters. His mother did seem to be shooting me glares all night, but I brushed it off. Soon, she came over and joined a table I was seated at with his sisters and some cousins. The conversation was pleasant as we were talking about his sister's children. His sister has a daughter who's 12 and is the same age as my niece. I then showed his sister a picture of my niece on my phone. His mother took a look at the screen and began to laugh. She told me she hopes that if me and her son ever have children, that they don't look like my niece. My niece is beautiful, by the way, and she's only 12 years old. What kind of monster attacks a 12-year-old child's appearance? This was my breaking point, and I went off like a volcano. I started to scream at her and told her she is the most evil person I ever had the disadvantage to meet. I told her if I ever did have children with her son, she can be certain she will never meet them because hell is too far to travel to. I am not 100% certain exactly everything that I said, but from what his younger sister later said, it was epic. She began to play the victim and wailed that I had just misunderstood her joke. My boyfriend came rushing over at this point, and she threw herself into his arms, telling him I am a horrible woman and he needed to throw me out right now. He told her that wasn't going to happen and to stop making a fool of herself. She seemed to accept this for a moment and sat back down. She just kept sobbing that I just didn't understand how to take a joke. Then, something in her snapped, and she noticed something that my boyfriend was holding in his hand, and began to have another meltdown. I didn't understand what was happening at this point, and just stood there watching a grown woman pitch a fit like a toddler. None of what she was saying made any sense to me, as it was mostly just incoherent screaming, but I did pick up on many derogatory comments directed my way. My boyfriend then told me we were leaving and told me to grab my things. As I started to get ready, my future mother-in-law made a lunge from my boyfriend's hand and grabbed the small box he was holding. She then looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You will never have this ring, you little shrew." He ran outside and threw the box down a storm drain. Turns out that my boyfriend was intending on proposing to me. He had just obtained his grandmother's ring while we were at the reunion. His grandmother is completely heartbroken because now her ring is down a storm drain instead of continuing on in the family as she had always wanted. I don't know where to go from here. I'm devastated, confused, and exhausted. Can I ask him to never see his mother again? Is that my place to say something like that? I'm sorry that my story is so long, but I really needed to get this rant off my chest. I think there needs to be a very long discussion. I mean, there have all been incidents where this mother-in-law could try and redeem herself, but it just doesn't seem like this woman is ever going to change. And how is it that everybody else in this family is amazing and get along great, but it's just the mother-in-law? I guess family just deals with family, but wow. Is she just determined to be the typical Disney mother-in-law villain? Or what?
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.